Alright, hey there, and welcome back to Icebane Gaming. Today we're going to be doing a time-lapse of a character I created to be friends with my OC Jazz. Introducing May. May is going to be the wild and rambunctious counterpart to Jazz's usual very chill and calm person. But yeah. I started this once again after the guidelines phase, because I can't always seem to remember to press record before I get to the red lines. So, here we are in the red lines. As you can see, I roughed out a pose that is very much so to the sassy nature to really bring out the feeling that May has, you know? It's going to be a low-down angle looking up at May while she's got her nose up to you, you know? Real diva like. Alright, and I believe that's just about it for the red lines. There's a little bit more detail work, but I got like most of the pose down. Here I am making the necklace. The choker, and I decided to go with a lot of skulls in the theme. Made her very goth in the end. She is a raccoon, a trash panda, while Jazz is a red panda, so it's going to be a real trash panda, red panda dynamic there. Here I do a little bunny skull on the shirt, though it's not like an actual bunny skull, it's just a cutesy styled skull. And I believe that I'm going to draw a little hat and then the tail, and then I'm done with the red lines. I lied earlier when I said I was just about done with the red lines. I think I spent about an hour on it total. I also took quite a few breaks during the creation of this piece, so there's going to be plenty of moments where I just pause for no reason. Add a little bracelet there, and then I believe I'm going to add the hat next. No, I'm just going to continue working on the legs. There we go, there's the hat. Decided to make it a little flat top cap. Alright, and you're going to see a little bit of detail work I put into it. Made a little bit wrinkly because those types of hats are always in the most uniform position. Then a tiny little skull pin on the corner of it. I started drawing chains there. Decided against it afterwards because I realized that it didn't really fit the aesthetic that I was going for. And here I am doing the tail on a different layer just to try to figure out its positioning. I decided it wasn't fluffy enough there, so I started to expand it a bit. And even then, that's not even the most fluffy it's gonna get. I started to hide the layer so that I know what it looks like behind her, and then I started doing the line work for the tail lines since she's a raccoon. Then I went and hid those as well in the places that they aren't going to be visible. And I thought I was going to do cargo pockets, decided against it, thought I was going to do ripped jeans, also decided against that in just a moment after I'm done with that. And then I believe we're just about to it. I took a break. I believe I was getting myself a sandwich. I believe I ate the sandwich as well, real quick like. And then I started the colored lines and color palette selection. But that's just going to start in just a moment. Organize my layers real quick, and then I did the neutral brown. I'm gonna decide to turn it to a neutral blue in just a second because I realized that the brown of the fur is going to be very hard to distinguish from the neutral brown, thus eliminating the purpose of a neutral brown layer. Since I didn't have much blue present, decided neutral blue was a good alternative. Because I've never done this character before, the color selection was all just winged and on the spot. I had a picture of a raccoon open in another window so I knew what the color palette would look like. However, I don't sample from picture as usually. I usually just eyeball it. For once, I actually organized all of my colors up in the corner. I practically never do that. Just decided to try something new, and it really worked out in the end. Really paid off. The color of the purple on the shirt is not the color that's going to last. I'm going to make it a little bit darker later on. And now we're moving on to the line work and to color flats. I usually do both of those at the same time, just whenever I am in the right position to do them. Currently I am doing the color flats on the eyes, because I really liked how it looked in my most recent drawing with Jazz. And yeah. Here we are doing the little raccoon mask around the eyes that everybody knows raccoons for. And because I selected the color palette to make that the color of the front of the hands and the tail, that is really just a reused color quite a lot. Same with this color here for the bottom part of the face. I use that for the eyebrows, the face, and the tail. And a little bit on the hands, I believe, as well. I decided to go with a very sneering position for the face. Had the gums slightly visible because you're looking upwards at her. And there's a little bit of brightness around the inner part of the ear on a raccoon that I did not know about before I was using my reference images. Decided to incorporate that because, well, I like to keep the fur patterns real. Made her hair all nice and fluffy. And I'm going to break up the colors around the hand there. You'll see that later a bit more in detail during the color flats. Because, well, raccoons, their hands are a different color from their arms. Another little bit of detail I didn't notice before I had the reference up. And I realized there that I forgot to do that hand. Gave it a nice quick go. It surprises a lot of people when I say this, but I usually eyeball hands. I've just done so many of them in my past that they just come naturally to me. Here I am finishing up the line work for the t-shirt. It's a very stylish t-shirt if you ask me, but I'm also the artist, so I guess take my opinion for a grain of salt because it's something I made. Alright, and there I go with coloring the flats, just to get them out of the way. And there is the choker. I decided to do silver like that, with a light blue color, because that's how I always do silver. Always with a lighter blue. Here I am going with the leggings. Very dark, almost black purple. I never use solid black. I believe I said this in videos before, but full-on black, Vanta black, is not very commonly found in nature. Usually it's going to be some sort of off color. I like purple or blue. Yeah. Just straight up black. Well, yeah. There I go with doing the detail work on the silver, making it pop a little bit more. And then I started with the fur. Because of how fluffy I designed her, there was a lot of work to be done with the fur. Here I go with the mask, working inside out with the color patterns on the face, as I do with Jazz, because it's a lot faster to do it that way. And there's the chin. And then there's the teeth. And I decided to finish up the ear because I realized that that would also not be solid brown the same way as the rest of it. Picked a darker brown for the inner part of the ear because raccoons. And there I start on the arm flats. You're gonna see real quick what I'm doing with the hands. I separate them from the arm fur. And there is the back of it, and then the front of it. It's really black and white, like in nature too, basically. The lighter tones on the back, darker tones on the front. Decided to add a little hand pads, the way that they are on a raccoon, and then I started designing the bunny on the shirt. I've done this with a skull t-shirt on a previous drawing. Liked how it looked, so I reused the same skills I learned with that one here. Just coloring with the lighter colors and then subtracting with the colors of the t-shirt material itself. Then it just looks like a very simple t-shirt design. Turns out very nice. Here I start on the hat. Very simple stuff. Finish the silver real quick, and there is the color flats. Thought I would make it a little bit darker, but then decided against it in a little bit. And decided that the darker part would be just ever so slightly darker, not like full-on darker. Then I start on the tail. The tail takes me, if I remember correctly, like 30 to 40 minutes. Because there's a lot of fur pattern work to go. Alright, and there is basically how long it took to do one row. I believe that was about 8 minutes by itself. Because of my cheats with my behind brush, it takes a lot less time for me to fill in the darker tones of the fur. There I just quickly roughed out like the lines to guide me. And then I decided that it looked a little bit too messy, so I went back with the darker brush, as you can see here, to make it look a little bit more uniform like the fur would look. Only 2 more stripes to go. And then I started doing all the dark areas that I hadn't done yet. This went really quick because, well, I already set up all the line work for me to work around. And I believe that's done with the color flats. I took another break here, probably to get something to drink. And then I decided to hide the color palettes. And then I started on the shading. I started with a green shading, but then I later on turned it to brown because, well, the green did not look right to me. It felt very sickly, or even like there was some form of like algae or something clinging to the skin, or well, to the fur, and I thought that, well, that's not really going to happen to a raccoon. It would happen to a sloth, but not a raccoon. So I changed it. I believe I changed it right there, yeah. And then I thought it looked a lot warmer and a lot cleaner with the brown, so I kept that one all the way through. Add a little bit of shine to the eyes, give them a little bit more personality. Did the tail up. And then the pants. You could really see shadows a lot better if you choose to do something lighter than a Vanta black. Also, it looks a lot nicer. And here I go with the lighting. Alright. And yeah. I made it pop only really on the shoulders and cleavage, and then on the face. For the rest of it, I didn't really touch it up with the lighting at all. And then I started on the background. I decided to make a very simple background, a blue circle on a dark blue backdrop, and then I decided to try my shading brush to see what I could do with that, and I ended up making it look like a flag. And I really thought that that looked quite cool. And then there's my signature, and I believe that's just going to be about it. But yeah, that's the creative process that I went through in designing May. Now, some of you might be wondering, why am I designing a friend for Jazz? Well, not to make any empty promises or anything, but I'm contemplating starting a webcomic. And I wanted to make those the two main characters. I still need to do a lot of process with the lore, the setting, all that stuff, world building really, and I need to figure all that stuff out before I'm gonna start making the actual comic, if I do. And yeah, and that's May. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do, it'd be very much appreciated. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time, and have a good one.